It is a warm September in Berks County, Pennsylvania. Carol Whitfield is standing at the edge of her back garden, holding a coffee that has gone cold in her hand, watching her chickens do something she has never seen them do in 11 years of keeping them. They are hunting, not pecking at scratch, not chasing each other off the feeder, hunting. Heads cocked, bodies low, moving with intent across the lawn towards the base of an old maple tree where, just a few years ago, the bark would have been crawling with them. The spotted lanternflies, red and black, the size of a thumbnail. The insect that her state government had spent a decade begging every resident to kill on sight. Oh, he's pregnant. This evening, her hens are eating them faster than she can count. She watches a barred rock hen snap one out of the air mid-hop. Huh, she says to nobody. When did they figure that out? She is not the only one asking. Across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and a dozen states beyond, something has started happening to the spotted lanternfly that nobody planned, nobody funded, and nobody released. The most hated insect in the eastern United States is being hunted by the animals that were here all along. The spotted lanternfly is not a fly. It is a plant hopper like Lycorma delicatula, native to China, Vietnam, and parts of Southeast Asia. It was first found in the United States in 2014 in Berks County, Pennsylvania, almost certainly arriving as a mass of eggs cemented to a stone shipment from Asia. A lanternfly egg mass looks like a smear of dried mud. It can be laid on anything flat, a tree, a pallet, a train carriage, the wheel arch of your truck, and it travels wherever that object travels. By 2026, the spotted lanternfly has spread to at least 15 states, from New York down to Virginia and west towards the Ohio line. In Pennsylvania alone, it has been confirmed in more than 34 counties. The damage mechanism is not what people first feared. The lanternfly does not bore into wood. It does not kill mature hardwood timber the way the emerald ash borer does. What it does is feed by the thousands, sucking sap directly from the stems and trunks of more than 70 species of plants. And as it feeds, it excretes a sugary waste called honeydew. The honeydew coats everything below it. Black sooty mold grows on the honeydew. The mold blocks sunlight from the leaves. The plant weakens. For most hardwood trees, this is survivable. For one industry, it is a catastrophe: grapevines. A grapevine swarmed by spotted lanternflies loses the sugar it needs to ripen fruit and survive winter. The hardest hit vineyards in Pennsylvania lost up to 90% of their vines. A 2019 economic study from Penn State estimated that, left uncontrolled, the spotted lanternfly could cost the state of Pennsylvania $324 million a year and more than 2,800 jobs. The state's grape and wine industry, worth over $1 billion, sat directly in the crosshairs. And then I think we found another one down here. So Pennsylvania did something almost unheard of for a government wildlife agency. It told its citizens to kill on sight, stomp them, scrape the egg masses, report the sightings. An entire state was deputized into an insect war. And it helped. But stomping was never going to win a war against an insect that lays egg masses 30 feet up in the canopy. Something else had to step in. Around 2020, in the oldest infested counties, something did. When the spotted lanternfly first arrived, the consensus among entomologists was grim and specific. The insect had arrived in North America without its natural enemies. In its native China, it is kept in check by specialized parasitic wasps that evolved alongside it for millions of years. Here there was nothing. No predator recognized it. No predator had any reason to eat a bright red and black insect that advertised its toxicity by sequestering bitter compounds from its favorite host plant, the tree of heaven, itself an invasive species from China. The lanternfly looked to the North American food web like a warning label. Bright colors, bad taste, leave it alone. For about 5 years that held. The lanternfly exploded across Pennsylvania almost unopposed. Then at Penn State's College of Agricultural Sciences, a doctoral candidate in entomology named Ann Johnson tried something that turned out to be one of the most productive ideas in the entire lanternfly response. She asked the public for photographs. Specifically, she asked people to send in any photo they had of an animal eating a spotted lanternfly. She and entomology professor Kelly Hoover expected a modest response. What they got was a flood. 660 photographs and observations poured in from Pennsylvania and New Jersey and every infested state around them. The photos told a story the experts had not expected. The North American food web had been quietly figuring the lanternfly out. Birds were eating it. Insects were eating it. Mammals, spiders, even the occasional fish and garter snake were eating it. The warning label was being ignored by a growing list of native predators that had simply learnt the bug was worth the bitterness. Three groups in particular stood out: the garden birds, the ambush insects, and one native assassin almost nobody had been watching. When Ann Johnson's team sorted the photographs by predator, the single most reported bird in the entire data set was not a hawk, not a falcon, not some specialized native insectivore. It was the chicken, the back garden chicken. The same bird Carol Whitfield keeps in Berks County was the most frequently photographed bird predator of the spotted lanternfly in the entire community science study. Behind the chicken came a lineup of familiar feeder birds: the northern cardinal, the gray catbird, the blue jay, and the tufted titmouse. The top 5 bird predators of one of the most feared invasive insects in America were birds that live in the average Pennsylvania back garden. This is the part of the story that the experts genuinely did not predict. The lanternfly's chemical defense, those bitter compounds it steals from the tree of heaven, was supposed to protect it. And in controlled studies, researchers confirmed the compounds are real and the bitterness is real. The birds ate them anyway. What appears to have happened is a learning process. Young, naive birds may try a lanternfly, find it unpleasant, and avoid it. But over time, as the lanternflies became impossibly abundant, coating tree trunks, swarming in the thousands, the calculation changed. An easy, slow, fat-bodied insect, available by the hundreds, is worth a little bitterness. The birds learned. And in the oldest infested areas where the lanternfly had been present the longest, the bird predation was most established. Carol Whitfield's chickens did not read the study. They simply did what generations of chickens have done with any abundant catchable insect. They ate it, and in doing so, they joined the largest unpaid pest control workforce in the eastern United States. But birds work the open trunks and the lawns. They do not hunt the way an ambush predator hunts. And for the lanternfly nymphs, the small wingless early stages climbing the stems by the hundreds, a different kind of hunter was waiting. It is worth understanding why the spotted lanternfly was so vulnerable once predators decided it was food. In its native range, the lanternfly survives because it is rare. Specialized parasitic wasps attack its eggs and nymphs, holding its population at low density. It does not need to outrun predators because the predators that matter target it before it ever hatches. In North America, those specialist wasps were absent, but so was the low density. The lanternfly here is not rare. It is staggeringly abundant. And abundance in an ecosystem is an invitation. A generalist predator, a bird, a mantis, a spider, does not need to specialize in lanternflies to benefit from them. It only needs to notice that a slow, soft-bodied, abundant insect is suddenly everywhere. The very thing that made the lanternfly such a successful invader, its explosive numbers, is the thing that eventually rang the dinner bell for every opportunistic hunter in range. The lanternfly had no defense against being common. In the arthropod category of Ann Johnson's study, the top predator was the praying mantis, 2 species mainly: the Chinese mantis, Tenodaris sinensis, itself an introduced species long naturalized in North America, and the Carolina mantis, Stagomantis carolina, a true native. Both hunt the same way: motionless folded forelegs cocked, waiting for prey to wander within range, then striking in a fraction of a second with a grab too fast for the human eye to follow. A spotted lanternfly is, for a mantis, nearly ideal prey: slow, soft-bodied, prone to sitting still on a stem for long periods. A mantis perched near a lanternfly aggregation can feed almost continuously, but the mantis was only the most photographed. The most scientifically interesting predator was something else: the wheel bug, Aerolus cristatus, a native assassin bug, 1.5 inches long, gray and armored, with a serrated crest on its back that looks like a cogwheel, which is where it gets its name. The wheelbug is one of the largest assassin bugs in North America, and it hunts with a single brutal tool, a curved needle-sharp beak that it drives into its prey, injecting enzymes that liquefy the insect from the inside, then drinking the result. Researchers documented wheelbugs not just eating lanternflies, but sometimes positioning themselves near lanternfly egg masses so their own hatching nymphs would emerge directly into a food supply. A native predator syncing its life cycle to an invasive prey it had never encountered until a decade ago. In 2025, a Penn State study went further. Researchers tested 10 generalist predators in controlled conditions to see which could actually reduce lanternfly populations. Not just nibble, but meaningfully kill. 3 rose to the top: the Chinese mantis, the Carolina mantis, and a native predatory stink bug called the spine soldier bug, Podosus maculiventris, a small, unremarkable-looking insect that turns out to be one of the most effective lanternfly killers in the entire eastern food web. The drillers had the trunks, the mantises and assassin bugs had the stems. The lanternfly was being hunted at every level of the plant. If you live in a quarantine county, you already know the ritual. You scrape the egg masses off your trees in winter with an old credit card or putty knife into a bag with hand sanitizer or surgical spirit to kill them. You stomp the adults in autumn. You check your vehicle, your firewood, your patio furniture before you travel. There is a question that comes up the way it always does. Can you eat them? Can anything useful be made from them? The honest answer is mostly no, and this is where the lanternfly differs from a wild hog or an Asian carp. The lanternfly sequesters bitter, mildly toxic compounds from the tree of heaven. There is no commercial food use. There is no hide, no meat, no fillet. Even the honey is a problem. Beekeepers in heavily infested areas have reported that bees foraging on lanternfly honeydew produce a honey that comes out dark, smoky, and earthy, sometimes unsaleable. The one use that has emerged is biological, not commercial. The lanternfly's body by the billion is becoming food. It is feeding chickens, cardinals, mantises, wheelbugs, spiders, and assassin bugs across 15 states. The thing we cannot eat, the food web is eating for us. The cleanup is the value, and one of the cleanup crew was hiding in plain sight the entire time. The spine soldier bug does not look like much. A shield-shaped stink bug, brown and mottled, easily mistaken at a glance for the brown marmorated stink bug, itself an invasive pest from Asia that Pennsylvania residents have learnt to hate. The difference between the two is the difference between a villain and an ally. The brown marmorated stink bug eats your crops. The spine soldier bug, which looks almost identical, eats other insects, including the ones eating your crops. It is native. It has been here all along. And in the Penn State predation trials, it was one of the 3 most effective spotted lanternfly killers tested. The spine soldier bug hunts with the same liquefying beak as the wheelbug, but it hunts in a way that matters enormously for pest control. It attacks the nymphs. The small, wingless, early-stage lanternflies clustered on stems by the hundreds in late spring and early summer. The stage before the insect can fly, before it can lay eggs, before it can do its real damage. Kill a nymph, and you erase every egg it would ever have laid. This completes the picture. The garden birds take the adults off the trunks and out of the air. The mantises and wheelbugs ambush the older nymphs and adults on the stems. And the spined soldier bug works the youngest, most vulnerable stage of all, the nymphs, before they can ever become a breeding adult. 3 waves of native and naturalized predators attacking 3 different life stages across the entire vertical surface of the plant. The lanternfly, which arrived with no natural enemies, now faces an improvised army of them. No agency designed this. No program funded it. It assembled itself, photograph by photograph, county by county, out of the ordinary animals that were in the back garden the whole time. This does not mean the war is won. The spotted lanternfly is still spreading. Researchers project it could reach California's $85 billion wine industry by the early 2030s if it continues to hitchhike west on vehicles and freight. The native predators are not eliminating the lanternfly. They are doing what native predators do, applying steady, increasing pressure that over time helps push an explosive invader towards a lower, more manageable equilibrium. And the pattern matches what entomologists have seen before. In the oldest infested areas of Pennsylvania, Berks County, where it all started in 2014, the lanternfly is no longer the overwhelming plague it was at peak. Populations there have declined from their initial explosion, partly through the host plants being damaged, partly through the predators catching up. The USDA is still studying whether to release the specialized parasitic wasps from China, a slow, careful process because the history of biological control is littered with introductions that went wrong. But while the agencies study, the back garden is already working. What is bringing the lanternfly down is not one solution. It is the slow, unpaid, uncoordinated labor of every chicken, cardinal, mantis, wheelbug, and soldier bug that decided an abundant insect was worth eating. It is a warm September evening in Berks County, Pennsylvania. Carol Whitfield is standing at the edge of her back garden, watching her chickens work the base of the old maple tree in the failing light. 11 years she has kept hens here. For the first decade, the lanternflies came in clouds, coating the maple, raining honeydew onto her patio furniture, drawing wasps to the sticky mess. She stomped what she could. She scraped egg masses all winter. It never felt like enough. This autumn, there are fewer, not gone, but fewer. And her chickens, without being taught, without being asked, have added a new item to the menu they have hunted in this garden for over a decade. She watches the barred rock hen snap another one out of the air. They figured it out, she says again, quieter this time. Pennsylvania asked 4 million people to stomp an insect into submission. It was never going to be enough, and the scientists knew it. But the chickens learned, the cardinals learned, the mantises and the wheelbugs and the small brown soldier bug that nobody ever noticed, they all learned. The thing we were told to kill on sight, the back garden is quietly eating on its own. Not because we asked it to, because that is what a food web does. Given enough time, with enough of an invader to go around, it just needed a few years, and it needed us to leave the chickens to their work. If this story changed the way you look at the natural balance in your own back garden, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the hidden battles of nature that they tried to ignore. Let's protect the future of our ecosystems together. The next discovery will be revealed soon.